Most of the objects we use every day quietly train us. They teach us how to hold them, how long to focus, how patient we need to be. When design ignores human limits, it drains us. When design respects them, it almost feels like care. That's the kind of design I've always tried to make. I feel like it's maybe a step in the healthier path is that everything phones have become reactionary devices. It's like you open it up, there's the red bubbles everywhere. I mean, I think we can all admit that we're trying to go send an email or whatever, and somehow we're caught into like a reel somewhere. And it's like, how did I get there and why? And has it been 15 minutes that I'm still stuck? I mean, it's important to create sticky experiences that people want to use every day, but is it about helping them become a better version of themselves, or ultimately does the company win after 10 years of kind of draining them, right? So I think that's a really important. I definitely shift more towards restraint and minimalism, but at the same time, it's important to offer choice, within reason. Sometimes having everything that you want, you don't know what to do with it, or you get overwhelmed. So I think kind of being a good guide in your as a product is really important.
Coming up on Design Mindset, Joseph Hofer, the designer behind BlackBerry's most iconic devices and now a product portfolio consultant, on why the best design decisions are the ones you don't notice and how respecting human limits creates products that heal rather than drain us. Hey everyone, welcome back to Design Mindset. I'm Radhika Seth. Today's episode is brought to us by Keyshot, the 3D rendering and visualization software that helps designers test how products feel, not just how they look. And for a free trial, please head to keyshot.com/mindset. Today, we're exploring something that sounds counterintuitive. That great design is often about what you don't add, not what you do. That the most sophisticated products feel obvious in hindsight, and that respecting human limits, our energy, attention, physical, and mental capacity is the highest form of design intelligence. My guest today has lived this philosophy across two distinct but connected worlds. Joseph Hofer is the founder of Hofer Studio, where he helps hardware entrepreneurs build profitable, world-class product portfolios. But before that, he spent over a decade at BlackBerry as senior industrial designer, where he established the look and the feel of the iconic Bold family and shaped devices like the Q10, Z10, and helped refine and bring the BlackBerry Passport to market. Joseph's work is listed in over 60 design and utility patents. Products he's touched has sold over 21 million units and generated upward 3.1 billion in revenue. And he's won multiple awards like the Good Design Award, Red Dot Awards, IF Design Awards. What makes his perspective unique is how he views design as a considerate of human health, creating products that help us maintain healthy relationships with technology and that help us heal and be our best selves rather than draining us of our energy. From tactile keyboards designed for human hands to health-focused products that respect our limits, Joseph represents a design philosophy that's become increasingly rare: restraint, clarity, and quiet confidence over complexity and cleverness. Joseph, welcome to Design Mindset. I'm excited to explore what it means to design for human energy, not just for productivity. Welcome.
Thank you, Radhika. Thank you, Radhika. Thanks so much for inviting me on. I'm excited about this conversation.
Likewise, Joseph. See, you've shaped some of the most tactile, human-centered devices in tech history at BlackBerry. Now your work, it includes health tech and wellness companies. What's the, thought line in your design philosophy now?
It's a great question. I think over the years, it's slowly formed by the different projects and categories I've been able to work in. And, now only after, a couple of decades in the industry, it's getting a little bit more clear. But I do want to mention one thing. At the very beginning of BlackBerry, there was the design team. And the design team actually was called Design Integration
Mm-hmm.
as an official title. It wasn't, industrial design or whatever. And it was all about trying to integrate so many aspects of the company, the brand, marketing, technology, those sorts of things. And I realize over a couple of decades now, since that period, integration is probably the word that, or the function, the action that I look to do well in every project that I work on. I think there's a lot of pieces that need to be considered, and if one is focused on, singularly, you may have a product that's really strong in one area but falls flat in others, right? So, I think the point of the product, the intent of the product, needs to be strong. The user experience needs to be strong, but a great design product that has poor profit economics is not creating a sustainable company. So I think economics is incredibly important. Where it's made, how it's brought around the world, mindful of cost and complexity of all of that is, I think, really important. I think another through line is trying to create products that stand out and aren't just put on a shelf or put in a drawer. And I think it's hard to create products that everybody loves. I think that's often a naive
Mm-hmm.
mindset of early founders. We're going to create a product that everybody is going to use. But I think it's actually a dangerous path to go. You end up with something a bit more vanilla. Vanilla doesn't really build moats. I think going after products that are a bit more polarizing and trying to shape a product, whether it's by features or design or positioning, that it's the only one in a category that does its thing well. So it can be viewed as the answer for a certain set of people. So looking for polarization in products is something that's always on my mind, as well. The more pushback you get on a product, take notice. You'll probably have the equal amount of passion and love for it as well, right? So, and then I think the other thing that I do run into a lot with founders, usually they're more technical founders,
Mm-hmm.
is they start with technology. They have a breakthrough innovation, whatever that might be, and they're often then looking for the market to push it into, and where can I sell this? And I think you need both. You need the innovators. You need the material science or whatever those scientific kind of developments need to be. But I think at some point you need to kind of step back and stop, and in some ways look really clearly or analyze and develop the problem. Like, what is actually this bubbling up from the market that isn't quite right, and shape an experience that solves that. Then work backwards into technology and allow your innovation to sort of marry with that. So I think technology and experience both need to be sort of in parallel. And it's hard to push one or allow one to go too much further than the other to create great products. So I've used sort of that playbook, for a long time. I mean, I could go on and on, but
Yeah, no, the key takeaways apart from, technology and the design working in hand in hand, I take, which I find really refreshing is, polarization of the product as well as, pushing the limits with innovation. I take that as a strong takeaway from this conversation. So,
yeah,
um,
great.
what I've also heard you mentioned earlier is, viewing your work as considerate of human health. Products that help maintain a healthy relationship with technology or help you heal at your best. What does that mean practically when you're making design decisions? Because today, if anything, our relationship with our technology or our products is really unhealthy. So, how do you explain this?
If I could ask, what are you actually referring to in terms of some of the products that feel unhealthy? I mean, that would be kind of
Like,
interesting to hear from your.
yeah, so I'm like, my relationship, a lot of people, you see, when I was just like my daughter is about to get married. And
Yeah,
one
yeah,
of the
yeah.
things I was telling her, when you bring a baby into the world, Arpita, don't do this where I see most of the parents, instead of feeding the child with stories like how we brought up our children when technology
Right,
was not there,
right.
you're literally getting them addicted to the tablet. And today, a 2-year-old intuitively knows how to use a tablet without the help of
Right.
a parent. And at the age of 2, when my daughter was, like she's 29 now. So back
Yeah,
then, her relationship with technology was not this. It was just at the most playing video games when she was like 10, 11 years old, which is
right.
a good, mature brain to have. But today, you're seeing parents being so dependent on technology, whether it is, a baby monitor. We did things differently. Yes, convenience is something to
Yeah,
be considered, but
yeah,
how much is it healthy to be so dependent on technology also? So that's
yeah.
where I'm coming from.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, that's amazing. And it's a world that I'm in right now with a 2-year-old
Mhm.
son and a 8-year-old daughter.
Mhm.
Like what's the right balance of introducing them to, screen time, but also not relying on screen time as a babysitter, right? And,
Mhm.
I don't want them to be Luddites and
Mhm.
not know how to use technology. I think it's really important
Absolutely.
as they grow, they can
Yeah.
use technology to, to build business or
Mhm.
whatever that might be, even in their teenage years, right?
Mhm.
And I'll maybe get into it a little bit further on, but music actually, like
Mhm.
how does a young parent play music for their
Mhm.
kids? And when you think about, my like when I think about my 8-year-old, she's kind of getting to the point where she's trying to add more independence. It's just
Mhm.
sort of natural. Like 8 to 10-year-olds,
Mhm.
they test their.
Mhm.
Do I give them a phone with
Mhm.
Spotify on it, which can kind of just never ending keep playing
Mhm.
something that I mean, I can obviously set up playlists and things like that, but that's a lot of effort on my part to like
Correct.
set up a sort of safe listening environment for them.
Mhm.
Then I need to set up Bluetooth speakers or something.
Mhm.
Whereas when we were younger, when we had a CD player, it was
Mhm.
very kind of canned. It's like you put one thing in, you push a button, it plays to the end, and it's done. And there's some safety there. So
Mhm.
talking about like I mean, it's just a conversation in our house recently. So what I did is actually bought an old CD player off Amazon. I mean, it's like an old technology, but it's a new player off Amazon.
Yeah.
And we can get into like how she's finding that to use, but I'm just watching her like develop in her independence
Mhm.
by being able to put the CD on at night, and there's no ads.
Mhm.
It's really interesting. It's like ads and all of these interesting things that have happened over the last decade
Yeah.
with phones and such, have been an incredible like benefit to folks. But at the same time, I'm looking at her life, her scenario
Mhm.
of trying to listen to some music going to bed repeatedly every night. Like it's you got to set it up every night. It's something she can now do on her own, but
Mhm.
it's using a really old technology and it's not, that great. So, you know, maybe that was a bit of a tangent there, but I think it's touching on, as a tech
Mhm.
product designer,
Mhm.
I am playing between these worlds of seeing, amazingly capable products and what we
Mhm.
can do with AI, what we can do with connected IoT products.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I have a reality with my kids and what I'm trying to create that's healthy for them, or what I
Mhm.
feel is healthy for them as a parent.
Mhm.
And there's a mismatch. And I actually see like some incredible product opportunities in this space where,
Wow.
we've like, I may not want to buy CDs anymore, but
Mhm.
I want to create an experience for her that's safe, that's like specifically on one album or
Yeah.
3 albums and she can cycle through them or something. Like there's no, I don't know if you know anything that exists like that, let me know. But so I think, what does it practically mean? Like for me, I think there's a couple examples of products that I've worked on recently, that maybe I'll touch on. The first,
Mhm.
I can maybe speak with, being launched at CES recently is the Clicks Communicator.
Yeah.
And, the conversation with the Clicks team, as we shaped that over the last couple of years, has been what's wrong with the everything phone model of today, right? And you know what we realized, even though it where we ended up almost felt like a modern version of a BlackBerry, or some people look at it and say, oh, maybe it's a nostalgic sort of
Mm,
product.
mm,
That's actually not our heart, and we feel like those who are buying it are not buying it because of it was you know,
mm,
it kind of reminds them of BlackBerry. A lot of the customers aren't
mm.
even BlackBerry users. They're younger folks that just want to redefine and have a different relationship with their mobile device.
Mm,
And what we've found, and why I feel like it's maybe a step in the healthier path, is that everything phones have become reactionary devices. It's like you open it up, there's the red bubbles everywhere.
mm.
I mean, I think we can all admit that we're trying to go send an email or something, or pay a bill or whatever, and somehow we're caught into like a reel somewhere, and it's like, how did I get there, and why? And has it been 15 minutes that I'm still stuck? And I think, I mean, it's by design in some ways. Big tech has sort of shaped these sorts of products to develop to increase screen time,
Yeah.
and sell more through ads, that sort of thing. So the communicator at its heart, which is why it's the first phone I've designed in 10 years after BlackBerry. I did 10 phones at BlackBerry that came out with smartphones.
Mm,
It flipped it. It was more about prompting a user to decide what they wanted to do first,
mhm,
then pick up the product
mm.
and take that action. So having keys allow you to shortcut to those actions.
Mm,
So I can set
mm.
up K to call my wife Catherine, or and it's like a single press, and I'm choosing to do it. So there's no app grid. It's a
Yeah.
list, almost like a Rolodex of your apps, but you have to think, oh, I want to go check Instagram. So I'm going to hit I,
Mm,
and it's almost like using universal search on your phone
mm,
all the
mm.
time. So
Wow.
it flips it from being a reactionary to intentional. So, and there's this kind of, I would say 2025 has been this past year of sort of the intentional tech products, or products that are sort of decoupled from others. So, the typical glass slab has been a great phone, has become your speaker,
Mm,
but we're starting to see these products sort of pull away. Game Boy,
mm,
devices have kind of resurged again.
mm,
We feel Communicator is a product just for that. It's conversing with either AI or with others that matter to you, right?
mm,
So I think like the intent of the product is the first way to start. Am I just trying to, um, with this product, draw people in, get them hooked? I mean, it's important to create sticky experiences that people want to use every day,
mm,
but is it about helping them become a better
mm,
version of themselves,
mm,
or ultimately does the company win after 10 years of kind of draining them, right? So I think that's a really important part.
mm,
Um, Again, we can go deeper, but I think on sort of a smaller level, I would say materials is something that can either heal or hurt people.
mm,
I've become a lot more aware of it in the food space.
mm.
I'm checking the ingredient list on everything that I eat now. Maybe it's because I'm more middle-aged, or whatever, but I I struggled with health for my whole career at BlackBerry and some years after that, and realized there was a couple ingredients that I actually should have stayed away from. I didn't take the time to discover what that was. And once I
Yeah.
did, I healed myself with food. And
Wow.
that's why Forages, the other company that we're creating, or that we've created over the last few years, the Sprout Jar Kit
Yeah.
is really interesting, because sprouts are a vegetable,
Yeah.
incredibly healthy. They're a superfood. And the reason I co-founded this company, it's the experience is so simple to grow at home. You just need water. You don't even need sunlight. It's like
Wow.
a little bit of water morning and night. And
Mm,
in 5 days, you have the most nourishing, nutrient dense food. You could be in a cold climate, a hot climate, whatever. and you can grow it at home, and you see it go from a sprout or a seed to a sprout on your counter. So you understand the supply chain is
Yeah.
really short. It's like counter to fridge.
Yeah.
It's when you buy sprouts at a or vegetables at a grocery store, you don't really know where they come
Yeah.
from globally, and what sprays did they use.
Yeah.
So we I saw it as an opportunity to create a premium experience in that category that
Hmm.
allowed people to be in control of their health by staying away from pesticides,
Yeah.
eating something for pennies a week.
Mm. Mm.
Like it's I think maybe $1 a week to grow like enough for a couple,
Wow.
throughout the week. And so it's accessible, rather than going to
Nutritious.
fast food, which often is the cheaper option out there. Grow this incredible, supplement at home. And so that, was sort of similar, like it's the intent of the product, and then the experience around it is what's making it maybe more sticky or more premium or more attractive. But it comes back to like, why does the product even exist, and will it better someone's life? That was maybe a bit long-winded, but
No,
yeah,
but
I
very
get
insightful.
passionate about it.
No, no, very insightful as well. So, so I'm going to take you back to the time when the obvious wasn't really obvious. So when I go back and I talk, the BlackBerry keyboard feels very obvious now. And of course, physical keys should have that shape, the shaping, the tactile feedback. But it wasn't obvious until you designed it. So how do you recognize these quiet ideas that will feel very obvious in hindsight? Because that's one of the principles of good design as well, that it's very obvious, it's very intuitive. So what are your thoughts about these quiet design?
That's a great question. I mean, like first of all, I will say that design of the BlackBerry keyboard was a major team effort. I definitely was kind of in the center of that. Did a lot of studies, but we had some really incredible folks around us. We were all working on like the core design team. We were all, trying to improve that. But and I think the reason I add that as well is sometimes these quiet ideas that feel obvious or become obvious
Mm,
actually took a lot of effort and iteration to get there.
mm,
There's this sort of design, you could call it design thinking. It was just
mm,
this sort of motto that we used. I used a lot: think, build, test. And I've seen some companies rush to building.
mhm.
They just build and test, build and test, build and test, and it becomes kind of what the maybe the market wants, or the user
Mhm.
wants.
Mhm.
But I think it's important to like step back
Mm,
and think things through before building as well.
mhm.
The keypad surfacing on BlackBerry was was part of the journey of where BlackBerry was headed in the context that was around it, and actually why it was different than where we are today with Communicator because of the context around it.
Mm,
So when the first phones came out from BlackBerry, they were these sort of oval shapes. They were all spaced apart. The products were pretty large, and it became the icon. It was
Yeah.
what became very familiar.
Mm,
But during that period of time, in that context, feature phones were very prominent. That's what people carried. They were very small, like
yeah.
T9 kind of typing. It was one hand, you slip in a
Yeah.
pocket.
Yeah.
And then we had these large calculators. So there was a major pressure to reduce the size of BlackBerries
Yeah.
in width and size to something that we felt at that period of time was more pocketable, right?
Mm,
And as well, like 20 or 2006, 2007, sort of when the iPhone came out and the screen was basically starting to take over, there
yeah.
was the big push of like, how do we make the biggest screen on our products and reduce
Mm,
the size of keypads? So there was a major pressure on key spacing, key size,
mm.
and that's essentially when it went from oval keys to square keys. And when you do that, you lose some of those ergonomic spacing and separation that you would feel on the edges of the keys, right? So one of the the main innovations that led to it being included on all the products from that period on. And it really, came through with some of the products a little bit earlier than this, but this is
Uh-huh.
the one that
Yeah.
started to really embody it. But there was this extra kind of curve, which actually was reminiscent of a circle
Uh-huh.
from the previous keys, right? We took just the edge that mattered
Uh-huh.
and raised that on top of the square key,
Oh, wow.
such that you could feel
Hmm.
almost a reference of the shape of oval keys from prior devices, right? And
Hmm.
that allowed us to kind of really compress, and we use these sort of piano keys in
Hmm.
later
Hmm.
phones and such, right?
Hmm.
But if you look at that, it's actually a hint of a circular key,
Yeah.
kind of pushed together. So when we came to Communicator, and I don't have one of the latest, this is just a prototype.
Yeah.
Uh, we actually, if you compare it to where we were with Bold,
Yeah.
you can kind of see how much wider and
Yeah.
taller the product is.
Yeah.
This had to be this size
Hmm.
because of the pressure to feel more like a feature phone
Yeah.
and kind of that size. But with what's happened with, iPhone Pro Max and these large touchscreens, the context in today where we've adopted larger phones. So
Yeah.
this next to, an iPhone actually kind of feels small.
Well,
So
yeah.
that allowed us to create, I actually think, one of the best keyboards that's even compared to BlackBerry because we've had that extra space. The
Yeah.
market's sort of been more forgiving on width.
Yeah.
And that's allowed us to return back to oval keys that are separated, which is sort of where it came from, and have that space, in
Hmm.
between. So we're really, it's like, I'm not sure if I'm answering the question quite right, but like there's a lot of like engineering and
Yeah.
thought that, with your reference or
Hmm.
your case study of physical keys that
Yeah.
may just feel intuitive there, but there was a lot of prototyping, a lot of exploration, and also, testing. Um, you know, so many speed tests and accuracy tests and user
Hmm.
feedback, sentiments on different options that led us to something that maybe feels obvious and
Hmm.
natural for the masses. So that's sometimes how you get to principles that work well.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think, refining these
Hmm.
over time, they become obvious, but it
Yeah.
often takes real effort to get there. And I'm sure this topic will kind of get further,
Yeah.
expanded on
Yeah.
throughout our chat. But because another area would be reduction of steps and
Yeah.
and and
Yeah. So I was just going to get to that.
options and
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah, I was just going to get to that also next. Like we've talked about how, poorly designed products really drain
mhm,
physically and mental energy when you're using
mhm,
them. Oh, can you
right.
give me an example of how a product category where you see this is happening and how better design could change that? Is there anything that you would like to like?
Yeah. The first one that came to mind, and I think there's obviously others, but and I touched on it prior, would be, home stereo setups
Mm,
like the remotes, the universal remotes.
mm,
Usually the homeowner will set it up and they're comfortable with it. But
mm,
I've seen many, Thanksgiving events or
mm.
family events where, can't do a video call with
Yeah.
family and post it on the screen. And where's the audio coming from? Where's the mic? Like, it's just a really challenging kind
Yeah.
of experience. And I think the company who's doing it quite well in today's space is Sonos. They've really
Mm,
simplified it, kind of rethought the layout of that world. Um, but I still see there being pretty big challenges.
yeah.
I believe products can help people feel stupid or feel smart. And, I see stereo equipment making a lot of people feeling stupid.
I
And it's not them, but you have, I think of people in my world, like just their personality,
mm,
they walk away feeling dumb. And that's not right. That
Yeah.
was the engineer, that was the designer's problem to
Yeah.
add that many buttons or complexity. It's, user experience design is, I think, incredibly important. Um, so people are also forgetful. I mean, you can set it up once, but then, if you haven't used it in a week and you come back, it's like, well, what setting was it? HDMI 1, 3? What? Like, even I, working in tech,
You've hit a
it's not
very
simple
raw,
enough.
yeah, you've hit a very raw nerve over here because I am overwhelmed with my, TV remote. I have three to operate one TV because one is for the cable, one is actually for
Yeah,
the TV
yeah,
itself, and one is another device
yeah,
attached to it. And for me, the life of me, I think I just use the power button. Thank God it has a shortcut to Netflix and Amazon Prime. So those two buttons, the volume up and volume down, and
yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
I think I don't use any other. And you're right, my remote actually makes me feel very stupid. It
yeah.
does.
It's,
And
it's,
and a friend of mine just today needs to do a Zoom call and was asking my daughter, "Can you like set it up in advance for me? Because when I
mm,
use my headphones with my phone, then they're not able to hear me. I don't know what is the problem." So even using something as simple as doing a Zoom call, attending a meeting,
yeah,
technology just
yeah,
fails you at times. It
yeah,
makes you feel stupid because you don't know the answers. Yeah.
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that. I think we failed. We failed, a lot of people, and I see, the aging population. I mean, it's incredible. My dad's in his 90s, and I
Mm,
would say 10, 15 years ago,
mm,
started using technology.
mm,
So this is what, 75?
mm.
Let's say 10 years ago, got an iPhone and
Yeah.
actually texts us now. Like, I've never had a text my whole life from my dad, and now he's
Yeah.
texting me and able to, like, be on YouTube, and he's figured that out, which is, well, but it's been a lot of effort on our part to help
Yeah.
our seniors out. But, thinking of aging in place, is a really interesting topic for me, where, um, you know, seniors might be living in their own home longer.
Mm,
We have this pressure of smart homes, like
mm.
trying to set up a smart thermostat or something.
Yeah.
Like, how do we design for, um, you know, not necessarily the early adopters or the more tech savvy
Mm,
market, and how do we simplify? How do we create smart products that are simple to use? And, I'll go back to this, kind of sound system or music space. We talked a little bit about it with my daughter,
mm,
M. She's 8, and I actually, in prep for this podcast, I sat down with her last night and I said, "How do you feel about your CD player?" And this is funny because we're in 2026 and we're talking about a CD player.
yeah. Yeah.
But we have a lot of CD players from our childhood and we feel
Yeah.
comfortable with them and whatever, right? So we like I said, bought her this Amazon,
Mm,
simple one that fits on her desk and she can put it in easily. It's great. It has a remote. She can turn it off at night. Great. I said, "Does it feel complicated to use?" And she's like, "Yes, there's way too many buttons." I'm like, "Okay, tell me about that. How many buttons should be on your CD player?" She's like, and she's quite smart. She's like, "3." I'm like, "Why?" "Okay, I just need a button to turn it on, and I need volume up and down."
okay.
I'm like, "Amazing. So how would you go to the next song?" She's like, "Well, just push the power button again and
Ah,
just, like, advance to the next song." And maybe I said, "Oh, cool. Like, maybe you could just hold the power button and it turns it off." Like, do you need switches and all these different things? And I think part of it, watching her try to use this, is very interesting. Designing for like 8 or 10-year-olds
yeah.
is actually a principle that I try to use in all my products,
Oh,
because if I can make it usable for a 10-year-old, whether in how a product's used or how they understand the point of the product in
yeah.
messaging, it's a very good rule, and I recommend that to any designer or founder. It's like, if you can't explain it to a 10-year-old,
Mm,
it's too complicated. And, looking at that, there's like 6 buttons on the top, and they're all the same shape. And there's no graphics, they're in mold graphics. So in the dusk setting, like at night when she's going to bed, like, she can't see them. So
Correct.
it's all about feel now. Ergonomics is a big part of this, right? So she can kind of feel around and feel the volume up and down,
Yeah.
and she can kind of set that. But like the sleep timer where, it goes off after, I know I'm riffing on this one Amazon product, but I
Mm.
feel like I'm going to redesign it.
I'm looking forward to that then.
It's like, it's a simple thing, $50, whatever. It's been an incredible like addition to our house in terms, like I said before,
Mhm.
giving her independence. She listens to it at night, calms her.
Mhm.
Um, but it's like, why does the remote look like a universal remote? It's this big with all these buttons. It just should have two buttons on it, three buttons on it, right? And so that's kind of the products that I'm leading, want to lean more towards. And
Uh,
I think there's a lot of other categories that could benefit from these
yeah.
simplified but intelligent products.
You bring a very good point now because I was missing one of the points that you had mentioned earlier, which I wanted to
Mm.
talk about, which is
Ah,
the commercial success of anything that you design. And this is something that I have come across in my experience. I've been in this industry for almost 18 years now. And what
mm,
one thing that I do notice is that people, especially designers or the design community, they are too fixated or too married to the product that
mm,
they make, and they do not consider the business success of the product that
mm,
is there that they are, and it's a very naive thought in many designers that what I
mm.
create is going to be commercially, like, it's going to fix everything and it's going to be a commercial success, where the reality is very, very different. So in
Yes.
your studio, you
Hmm.
focus on the three R's, that is relationship building,
Mm,
risk management, and ROI. So how does respecting human limits fit into commercial success? Because that is, the lot many people, and when I explain what design is to people who don't understand design, is that design is a service of solving a problem that is tied to something business. It's a business solution. It's not a human solution. It's not like you're doing some art or you're doing some creative project
mm.
to, you know, fulfill someone's fantasy. No, it is something that you're doing which is actually solving a business problem. So it should have some commercial success tied to it. So how do
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
do this respecting human
I
limits?
love this topic. Absolutely love this topic. And I mentioned before we started, you asked me if I read Yanko, and I actually it was like I don't remember the last time I read Yanko. I'm sorry. Full disclosure here. But it's something I saw in the last 15 years of my career, at BlackBerry, very inspired by design and lots of mood boards and ideas. And that's great, to kind of build the muscle of design to understand taste and develop taste. It's amazing. But what I did find at BlackBerry is that's the muscle I was exercising and getting good at was design.
Hmm.
I really felt like as I was getting, on in my career that I was missing the entrepreneurial aspect of it because
Hmm.
that was done by other teams. You had marketing team, market intelligence teams, the business,
Yeah,
the
the branding.
the
Yeah.
C-suite making decisions, right? So I felt like I had to get out of a rut and jump from BlackBerry, from design into entrepreneurship to learn the basics of understanding market gaps,
Hmm.
how to actually create value, like
Hmm.
product value, and then execute on that product value. Design is one piece. Design is kind of like that translation of like, here's a gap or here's an opportunity, here's the product, here's the answer. Design kind of helps you bridge that gap, in my mind. But I was really interested in how do I know what the gap is, and that's often front end kind of design research and such, which is great. I was kind of getting interested in that, and then on the other side, how do you communicate it? How do you actually market something like this, and how do you message it simply enough such that the the result overall is a company that's growing. I think the point of business is profit. Like I think we all, if it's not, it's a nonprofit, which is also a very interesting type of product and category, but let's talk about, products that are, or businesses that are profitable or profit driven, and how design fits into that, right? I think was mentioning that, not reading Yanko, and what I did the last 10 years is spend all my time in non-design spheres.
Mm,
So hanging out with entrepreneurs and founders who are taking risks, trying to
mm,
uncover that gap, right?
mm,
Being a part of masterminds that are more business oriented than design oriented. Even in my own website and even my presence online has been reducing my portfolio,
mm,
visual portfolio, and sharing the ROI that design or working with me has had with these founders, right? So if you look at my website, it's kind of a list of case studies more than it is a pretty design portfolio. And I think, great design is important, whether it's visual or functional or experiential. But I think, that's like, I think understanding what is commercial success is the first
mm,
step. Defining that metric. And
mm,
I work with a lot of, clients who come in who think they need design, and that's great. But actually, we turn the conversation into what does commercial success mean to them with this product? How does it change their life?
mm,
And how might a product support that? So that's the conversation we're having, all the time, as opposed to
mm,
a design conversation. So how do you actually go about, or how does respecting human limits? I mean, it comes back to, in some ways, some of the complex categories we talked about earlier, and how a product that shows up that is that actually meets, the emotional needs and the functional needs of a user, and is simpler to use, reduces the cognitive load,
mm,
lasts longer, less failure rates or return rates. Overall, you're creating a brand beyond the product that draws people in and maintains a relationship with them. And that's, maybe touching on the relationship building, right? Like, when products just are better, they need to be marketed and sold maybe less. That's an effect on your bottom line,
mm,
right?
mm,
And I think overall, like, I guess the way I look at design now, or product is, product creation and business, and why I'm positioning more as a portfolio consultant, is
mm,
that I'm trying to shape a product brand that has longevity, and that touches users' life in areas beyond even the product, right? Like, how are we talking to them as in our customer service sort of team and protocol? Are we respecting? Are we caring for those who are entering our world as a brand,
mm,
and helping encourage and move them to the goal that they're trying to get to, whether it's better health or
mm,
whatever that might be in their life,
mm,
right? So I
mm,
think getting past, just shaping a beautiful product and hoping it sells, it's more of like, how
mm,
can we help move our customers towards the life that they actually want to achieve? And if we do that, we become a friend.
mm.
And that's hard to, when you have a good friend, it's more lasting.
Yeah.
And that ultimately leads to commercial success in my mind.
Hmm. So then what's the biggest misconception about restraint in design? Because everybody wants bigger, louder, in your
Mm.
face, given this world that you have only 2 seconds to catch
It is
somebody.
attention.
Yeah, yeah. You have
It
only
is attention. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because you have only 2 seconds to capture anybody's attention. You're
Hmm.
bombarded by multiple screens. Like, if I'm watching the TV, for example, then I also have my phone on hand open, plus somebody else also vying for my attention, and plus one
Hmm.
more, maybe my laptop is also literally, studies show that two or three screens are going on at the same time. So then everybody wants to stand out. So what would you think is the biggest misconception that people have about it, and about restraint?
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic question. Could go in a few different topics there, but I talked about polarization at the
Yeah,
beginning, and
yeah,
I mean it's tricky because not everything is about restraint.
yeah.
I think clarity is actually even more even stronger of a word to maybe use.
Mm,
I think vanilla, yes, I mean sure, it's
mm,
it's my favorite ice
mm.
cream, but I think like a
Mhm,
vanilla product that solves a vanilla problem
mm,
is going to go unnoticed. And
mm,
I think I think focusing on problems that
mm,
are really hurting people
mhm,
as a pro, I mean that's what's tricky with forages a bit because it's a bit more preventative, right?
mhm,
It's
mhm,
like do this for 5 years and you will have great effects. It's not like an aspirin or a pill, right?
mhm,
That's like
mhm, mhm.
solves your headache today.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think the more we can catch and talk to people where they're experiencing a serious problem or a real
Mhm,
problem
mhm,
with a product that is somewhat polarizing, that solves it really well, that one thing,
mm,
really well, and does communicator do that to the overwhelm that a lot of people are experiencing with everything phones? Maybe,
mm,
right?
mhm,
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I think a problem and a tension that we all experience, every day when we're shaping products.
mhm,
How loud, how quiet, do we make them? I think if there's a danger of being too quiet, maybe too reserved, we go unnoticed, and actually the product doesn't end up solving and helping as many people as we want to.
mm,
So I think I think there's validity in trying to create a product that potentially goes a bit viral at its initial launch.
mm,
But what causes something to go viral? I think it solves a real
mm,
need in a
mm,
real clever way,
mm,
and a really yeah. So clarity is incredibly important in that area. But very quickly, that product needs to become essential
mm,
for users, or it's just going to be a blip,
mm.
and you've gotten your 100K views on a video, and then you're done. It's
Yeah.
like I care so much about sustainability. So a little phrase that I came up with was, how do I help companies go from viral products to vital
Right.
products that customers kind of
Mm,
need that this brand in their life because of how it's really made a difference for them, right?
yeah.
And I think trying to create products to be
Mm,
viral by adding lots of features and whiz
mm.
bang, whatever,
Uh-huh.
doesn't actually help the cause because it's just creating confusion in the market. I think when there's clarity
Mm,
around the intent, strength around the position and the philosophy of the product, and that actually needs to come from the founder and the marketing team. It's like this is what we care about, and I think when that relates and resonates with users, they're buying into the why of a product more than this feature rich one-off product.
yeah.
I want to create portfolios and brands
Mm,
that if didn't exist,
mm,
users would really miss.
yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes, it's like with Communicator, for instance, we added a 3.5 headset jack
Yeah.
and, you know, removable SD card and some of these things that feel like maybe feature add-ons, but
Mhm.
they're clues to who might use this product,
Yeah.
that we're listening to them and we care about them. And they just absolutely love those. They feel like they're being cared for, and that we're listening to them. And so it is a fine line. I definitely shift more towards restraint and
Mm,
minimalism, but at the same time, I believe there's like it's important to offer choice, within reason. Sometimes having everything that you want, you don't know what to do with it, or you get overwhelmed. So I think kind of being a good guide in your, as a product, is really important.
Lovely. Okay, Joseph, now this takes me to the time of our special segment, which is called the Design Mindset Challenge. And this one's been inspired by your philosophy for respecting human limits. So I will give you a hypothetical situation, and you need to
Sure.
give me a solution for that. All right?
Okay.
So the scenario is this: a wearable health tech startup has created a fitness tracker with 47 different metrics: sleep stages, heart rate, blood oxygen, stress levels, and the rest of it. So early adopters love it, but the broader user testing shows that people feel very overwhelmed and anxious, about the scores that they are getting, and eventually stop wearing it. So now the company wants to keep all the sensing capabilities because it's at a very competitive advantage that they have, but redesigning the experience so that it feels supportive rather than like a surveillance kind, that's it's just like tracking every damn thing of yours. And they have
Right,
just
right.
4 months before launch. So how do you keep sophisticated sensing without making the users feel that
Yeah.
they are being, under the spotlight and being monitored?
Yeah. That's great. Putting me on the spot here. So 4 months, likely you're not doing much on the product
No.
itself, hardware, it's probably
Yeah.
locked
Yeah.
already there. So you have, the areas I think that you can touch are user experience, maybe some software and messaging. I think it can quickly become the way you described this. It could quickly become, cognitive overload with
Hmm.
it notifying you of every out of spec, whatever change your body is making,
Yeah.
and sometimes not knowing things create this sense of peace or calm.
Yeah.
So I think there's a fine line, or there's a balance, between those two things. So um, I I I think I would just probably not show as much stats. I would translate that data into meaning,
Mm-hmm.
and I would try to connect what I'm presenting on the device or the app, or notifications to
Mm-hmm.
what matters to the user at that point in time, right? Like,
Mm.
I mean, thinking, I don't know, I feel like people are potentially moving the needle in an area. Like, I want to get more sleep, or I want to eat better, or I want, it's like, am I thinking about 47 different things my body should, like, I should do differently in my body?
Mm.
Probably not. There's probably like one or two things that you're
Correct.
sort of focusing on
Yeah.
in this quarter, or this year, or something like that. So I think through the setup experience, try to uncover that a bit more, and also realize that changes. So how
Mm.
do you, like, through conversation,
Mm.
sort of ask, hey, you still wanting to sleep better, whatever, or maybe it understands that you are sleeping better, and
Mm.
it's like, hey, what do you want to do next, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's super important, rather than showing, yeah, like all the stats and the metrics. It's just be more conversational, like a friend. Hey, you're a bit low on sleep. Like, hit the pillow a little earlier tonight. Just in a very, it's about it's trying to get to the outcome, not just presenting all the facts. I think, like I said, come across like a good friend. And I think it's important, though, like, there will be a whole set of users that want more data, and kind
Mm.
of, did I get 3% better, whatever, breathing yesterday? Um, I think it's important to do things in layers. And I think at a top level, like I think the UI or UX should sort of be, again, geared to like outcomes or goals oriented, but very, high level,
Yeah.
conversational,
Mm-hmm.
and then have maybe more of a deeper insights or pro mode that you can kind of jump into and
Mm.
understand the why behind why this thing is telling you. Because I think you lose trust when, this thing is telling you to do certain things and you don't understand why. It's like, I
Yeah.
think I'm smarter than it. So I think that's probably the biggest way I would approach that.
I love that approach, because it's designing for human energy. It means
Mm,
knowing what to show when users need it and when to show less. I would like kind of liken it to
mm,
peeling the layers of an onion. Like, you just keep on
yes,
peeling one layer after the other layer and only get the information at the right stages. I think that's a very brilliant
right,
approach. So thank
right,
you
right,
for
right.
that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You passed with flying colors.
Oh, whew.
So, which now takes me to the next fun segment, which is the rapid fire round. So, you
Mm.
just get
Oh wow.
0 seconds to kind of give me the first answer that comes into your mind.
Okay.
Okay, complete the sentence for me. Good design feels obvious in hindsight because.
Um, how it made you feel, not what it exactly did that day.
Wow. One feature you'd remove from a design that made it significantly better.
I think of Volterra. It's so cabling. Like it was a
Mhm.
product in a category that had a lot of cables and features and things and felt like science fair projects. So this whole idea of this brand and design language was to create like magic and it'd be almost like an engineering marvel. So we spent a lot of time putting cabling and pulleys and things inside extrusion so you couldn't see any of it. It just came to life. And it was a
Wow.
very complicated product, very complicated.
Mm.
But what actually is happening is the brand is being viewed as an experiential brand more than their other products, like a focus on user experience, premium in their space. That allows them to charge quite a bit more. It's just
Yeah.
one thing we've done. But they've been able to charge a lot more than what's in the market. They're seen as a market leader, category leader,
Yeah.
and that particular product has become their primary revenue driver,
Wow.
which is exciting. So,
Yeah.
um,
Lovely. So, physical or digital interface, which respects human energy better?
ooh,
Mm.
I think neither are inherently better. I think the problem is when you have one trying to replace the other. So you think of touchscreens in cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how
Mhm.
there's a return of physical UX,
Yeah.
physical
Yeah.
buttons in cars. I think we
Yeah.
took it too far. I mean, I grew up in driving a stick shift, a manual car and clutches, and it's like that's a physical overload UX experience.
Yeah.
But you learn a lot also through that, like how
Yeah.
an engine sounds when it's under too much pressure.
Yeah.
And I think we've kind of swung too far to like, maybe not too far, but like we lose, I think we lose, uh, yeah, skill maybe.
Yeah.
We're kind of losing skill by being able to just say, go from here to there. And the self-driverless car, driver car
That's the other
goes
extreme.
by
Yeah.
itself. It's fine. I mean, we're going to be working on other things, but as someone who grew up on a farm and around hand tools and learned
Yeah.
how hard to like press wood through a table saw before
Mhm.
it will kick back at you, like those are skills, physical skills that I think are important for us as humans to like still adopt and develop. And we're touchy-feely sort of people. So I think physical UI or UX is really important in many areas. I
Yeah.
think, we're bringing it back to phones with the communicator, but at
Yeah.
the same time, a screen can present a lot of information
Yeah.
in a more simplified way without as many buttons needed. So it can kind of change what it needs to do, and I think that's really smart as well.
Okay.
So yeah, both. It's all depends. It's
It's
context.
relative. So the biggest sign a product is draining users rather than serving them.
When the product isn't adopted or not like drops out of usage, it ends up in a drawer.
Yeah. True.
It's like it didn't improve their life. It wasn't like I mean it might have solved the problem for them, but it was too hard to use or it was too draining that
Yeah.
it fell out of routine. And I think routines is something that I'm really fascinated by.
Hmm.
It's like there's 365 days a year. Like we get up every morning. Like there's routines, like shutting lights off, on and off. I think we've often designed product experiences to be, a journey, and it's kind of one, but like we have to think people might do this every day, 10 times a day, for a year, for years. It's like, is the product experience draining over,
Yeah.
100 times use? And if there's an extra click or a slight inconvenience of something, it's,
Yeah.
it compounds. It really compounds. So, yeah.
And the last one, in one word, what does restraint in design feel like?
Confidence. It's like, what does obviousness create? It creates confidence. I know how to enter this experience. I know how to start this product. I feel more confident with it in my life. Certainty, confidence. Yeah.
Joseph, this conversation has been deeply thoughtful. What strikes me most is how you've shown that respecting human limits isn't a constraint, it's a competitive advantage, actually. And products that understand our energy, attention, and capacity create loyalty that feature, heavy relatives never can achieve. And your key insight that resonates with me the most actually is that the best design decisions are the ones that users don't notice because they feel natural, they feel obvious, they feel so right.
Right.
And that only happens when designers practice restraint and, trust quieter ideas and prioritize human well-being. That's really, really an honest feedback on this, because, everybody's going about the features list, but nobody's actively talking or showcasing that, human well-being is also important.
Right.
For everyone listening, you can learn more about Joseph's work at hoferstudio.com, where he helps hardware entrepreneurs build products that balance commercial success with human-centered design. Connect with him on LinkedIn and see how design can be a vehicle for both profitability and well-being. The key insight that I'm taking from today: in a world optimized for productivity and efficiency, designing for human energy, dignity, and health is the most radical and necessary act a designer that can perform. Thanks for bringing this perspective to Design Mindset, Joseph. This conversation is exactly what our audience needs to hear.
Thank you so much for having me on, Radhika. And, I think the conversation was very encouraging for me as well, that maybe I'm focused on the right things, respecting, the human limit through the products we create. And I think there's this sense of responsibility to do that, not just take advantage of them.
So everyone, remember, don't just live by default, design it. See you next week. This episode was sponsored by Keyshot, helping designers test not just what products look like, but how they feel, enabling iteration on the psychological impact of design choices before committing to production. Try your free trial today at keyshot.com/mindset. Thank you.